Hello and welcome to So Good We Named It, the first Golden Girls and Golden Palace podcast, and the first Golden Girls or Golden Palace podcast, to my knowledge, with black hosts. Hopefully, you cannot hear what I think is a tin can rolling down the alley outside of the window, but we're going to keep going. I'm Barrett. Kay will be joining us shortly. She went back to work today. I'm still off because I'm deathly ill, so she'll be coming in just a moment. But we have a very extra special image consultant and co-host with us today, the Stan Zimmerman. Thank you so much for joining us. And he's wearing.
Thank you for having me. I love that I follow a tin can.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite an act to follow. But he's wearing a starring Beatrice Arthur shirt, which he already agreed to off camera to send to me.
Okay. Isn't it interesting that it's Beatrice Arthur?
It is. I guess that's her stage name.
That is her stage name, and she's stuck to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has a little more pizzazz than Bernice Frankel, personally.
Yes.
But, oh, is that Amazon ringing the bell? Why is everyone making noise when I'm trying to record?
Oh, because I sent you something.
Is that what it is? Well, somebody better let them in. I'm busy. But I need that shirt. I need your sweatshirt you had on. And I also need Lenny Green's Letterman's Golden Girls jacket. So if I can just get everyone to send these things to me.
Wow, you're very needy, aren't you?
I need, you see this shrine. I need as much in this shrine as possible. So, I don't know if you all done your estate planning, but just think of me when it comes to anything Golden Girls related. Just
everything should go right to you. I should call my lawyer and send it right there.
That's what I think. I have very valuable items here. I was thinking the other day, what if the house burned down? How would I get all the Golden Girls out? I mean, the cats, they can figure it out, but that's a priority. For those that don't know, you were a writer for season 1.
Yes, I was.
And for those that haven't seen him, I was like, what were you, a toddler when you were writing this? So I said, let me see how old this guy is. I could find nothing. You have had, I guess from the authority of the governor, had that information removed because I was very interested and found
Ron
nothing.
DeSantis has been on it. He's banned books in my age. Yeah, there you go.
Well, shout out to him, but I assume...
No shout outs to him.
Oh, no shout outs, no shout outs.
No, not to him. No,
I assume you were
very
pretty
lucky
young.
to have a job at a very young age, and it was the second job that we had, and second staff job. But the first one shall remain nameless, unless we really get into it. But Golden Girls was obviously the very first big show and the first hit we ever had. And anybody's lucky to be on one hit show, but I've been so fortunate to have been on 3. And kind of like ending up being iconic shows as far as television.
Well, as someone who went to school for TV writing and production, for me, it was just, I need a degree for something, and that's something I like to do, so why not? I don't know if I thought I'd really write for a show. Apparently not, because I'm not doing it. But as someone that did it, and did it young, how did you just end up at the Golden Girls?
I took a left turn on Gower. Well, we can go way back to I grew up in Detroit, and I had a very active imagination. I was not a reader, so I didn't think I could be a writer. And my English class, I did not get good grades because I wasn't very flowery, and I didn't use a lot of adjectives, and I kind of got to the point, not realizing years later that was actually an attribute for writing for television because you only have so many minutes and so many pages to write, and you had to be really concise. And so I was not thinking I'd be a writer, but I was going to be an actor. And I pursued that, and I auditioned to get into NYU drama undergrad, and luckily got in there at a young age, and met my writing partner through a friend in the dorm, Jim Berg. And we started writing in between classes and after school jobs, and we both were obsessed with television. I was super obsessed. I was such a nerd that I created my own TV network in my bedroom, as kids tend to do.
Of course.
And I literally scheduled 7 days a week against the other networks. And I had one of those scheduling boards. And if I loved a certain performer or actor, I gave them their own show. I loved Lily Tomlin because she was from Detroit. So I felt I did not want to wait every year for her TV specials. I think she deserved her own hour show, which I put on Friday nights at 10 o'clock. And I got to tell her that years later that she was on my kids' network. So it was just kind of a natural thing that I would end up out here and doing this. And So I was tired of being poor in New York. And so I told my writing partner, we had written a bunch of spec scripts, and we got one noticed by a man named Gary Keeper at Paramount, and he kind of became our mentor. And then luckily my writing partner followed me out here a couple months later, and we started going to TV tapings for free because we couldn't afford to go to dinners or movies. And one of the tapings we went to was the show Cheers. And that was the spec script that we wrote for that show that kind of launched our careers. It just was a perfect match for us as far as the genre and just the sound of the show. It was very real. It was smart jokes, very character oriented. It wasn't, at that time, there were a lot of shows in the Gary Marshall camp that were like Laverne and Shirley and Happy Days, which were more gag oriented, and we were more character. And, I think it was the fourth spec script we wrote, and that was the one that was just like exploded. And suddenly I went from working at the Vista movie theater to having a office on the lot in Culver City at a studio on a TV show, and we never looked back. And we worked really hard keeping that momentum going.
Well, for those that aren't in the biz like you and I, a spec script is basically a script where you kind of write an episode for a show that already exists. And,
for free.
Yeah, and I know back in the day, they would send them out there. Is that still a thing? Can you still just send a script to a show now?
Yes. No, you can't send it to a show because it has to come through an agent because they're afraid of being sued. Back in the day, you wanted to write a script for a show that it was in existence to show that you could write for existing characters. Now people actually read more pilot scripts, which are new scripts. I think what I like to do when I'm staffing shows is to see both. I think that they have to have an original voice, but it's a very different craft to recreate other people's sounds. If you can't do that, you're not going to last on staff. So it was very interesting for us to hear little things that when Norm would come into the bar in Cheers and be like, "Hey, Norm, that was all in there. Are you okay?"
I'll survive. We'll push through. It's fine.
We'll push through. Hearing just the very specific sound and the words that they chose, we could mimic that. And that was a very important craft to have. And I think that's why we kept getting on different staffs. And, for many, many years, we would get offered 2 or 3 jobs per season. And obviously made some of the wrong choices and made some of the right choices as well.
Well, I personally don't write anymore, really, because...
Why? Why not?
I'm like, well, nobody's going to see it. This is so hilarious, so great, so I can never...
That's not true anymore. Right now is a perfect time. Everybody is looking for new voices, and you have a new voice, and you should be exploring that and figure out what you want to say. Not to push you, but I do teach sitcom pilot writing classes. I started it over COVID. Somebody twisted my arm, and then I made the mistake of posting about it. And now I've done 14 different classes, and it's in 3 different sections: pitching, outlining, and writing of Act 1, with months off in between. And then we have because I have like 9 students, I allow as the top number. It's all on Zoom because of COVID. And so it's writers from all over the world. Literally, I had a guy from Australia who'd get up at 5 a.m. to be in class. And so it's almost like a mock table. A table is what we call a bunch of crazy writers sitting around a table at all hours of the night, laughing and joking and being rude and fixing scripts and pitching ideas.
I might have to sign up for that. Hopefully there's some nepotism and I get an A+. But
yeah, we'll see
I would probably benefit from it, and maybe figure out what to do with all of these old scripts. I know in high school I wrote a script based on our school for some assignment, and people started asking me for copies, and I'm printing them out and handing them around. Who knows where that is now? But before we get into
that show was Saved by the Bell.
Well, it could have been, or Good Morning Miss Bliss. But I'm a TV nerd, and before we get to Golden Girls, I looked at your IMDb, and I was shocked to see some of the shows that you worked on that I have seen that maybe others haven't, because I love obscure television. But I used to watch Rita Rocks on Lifetime.
You did not. Really?
I did with Nicole Sullivan, Tisha Campbell.
Tisha Campbell Martin is a goddess, I just have to say. So first of all, this will all be in a book. So I am writing a book called The Girls from Golden to Gilmore, and it's about all the wonderful women I've worked with and Roseanne. And it's coming out through Indigo River Publishing, hopefully at the end of the year. So Rita Rocks came about because we loved American Idol and we loved Roseanne. So we kind of mixed those genres of music and a housewife. And it's about a woman who was lost her identity because she used to be the cool chick, and suddenly she became a mom with a dented Durango and 2 children and a dog and living in the suburbs, and she wanted to be cool again. So she gets down her old guitar and she starts a garage band with her mail lady, Tisha Campbell Martin, and unemployed guy next door, and her very cute boyfriend of her daughter. Now, you'll never guess who the 3 women we took to the network for the part of the mail lady that Tisha got, who the other 2 were. You want to guess?
Were they black? Can I narrow it down to that at least?
You can narrow it down to that.
I will say Tashina Arnold and Sherry Shepherd.
No. So Sherry did have a show that same season that Rita Rocks was on.
And I watched that too.
Yeah, and she's become a friend and just a wonderful person. She did a reading of my play Meet and Greet. I met her in New York. Very happy for her new show, but I have so many questions about Wendy Williams, but that's a whole nother. That's a whole nother. Anyway, Jasmine Guy.
Really?
And get this one. Are you sitting down?
I think so.
Octavia Spencer.
Wow.
How do you like that? How do you pick from those 3?
And Octavia is someone else that I saw in so many things before she, skyrocketed. I remember I saw her on Moesha, Ugly Betty, and it's like you never know. Looking back, the person with one line is the one with the Oscar, and the people who starred in the show, nobody knows who they are anymore.
She is one of the sweetest people, and if I email her asking her if she'll, do something, it's always a no, but she will email back in 20 minutes. And I think that just says so much about her, that she just cares and is sensitive about other people. And because she actually started as an assistant for a casting director friend of mine, and she just worked really hard at it. And she kept doing parts and parts and parts and parts. And I think that's why there's so much love in this town for her, because she's just one of the good eggs.
Definitely. And with Rita Rocks, I was upset when it was canceled, and I felt like Nicole.
So were we.
Nicole, you probably more than me, but Nicole and Tisha.
We got 2 seasons out of it, which was we were really lucky. But they just didn't know. Lifetime didn't know what to do with the comedy, and they didn't realize what they had. And even though they said after we made the pilot, they said, "There's a feeling like these people have been doing this for like 3 years." I said, "You don't understand, because you've never done a sitcom. That's unusual. That's lightning in a bottle. You grab that and run with it." And we were really lucky. And Nicole Sullivan is a comic genius, and just her and so Tisha hadn't been recording for years, and so I got to go into a recording studio with Tisha Campbell Martin like every other week, and we would just make it up. I mean, she would go in there, "Let me try this, let me do that," and I would always be the one that get the assignment. I'm going to the studio with them. And we would go record these little, like 2-minute pieces of famous songs. And Nicole and I would just like, our jaws would drop to hear Tisha just so easily do these riffs. And I kept saying, "You've got to record another album. You've got to be on Broadway. You've got to be singing again. She's so talented and so lovely." And I would do anything for that woman.
Well, I'm going to change.org for the Rita Rocks reboot. I'm going to get that started.
Well, actually, we're talking about turning it into a musical theater piece.
Well, there you go.
There you go. So but I was thinking like it would be fun to do a reboot with actually Tisha as Rita.
Well, something, because they have not had a show recently that has stayed on very long, and I think it's ridiculous because they're so hilarious and talented. But, people can't appreciate a woman of a certain age in this business. Maybe that's what it is.
Well, it's very true. I was doing a play of mine about 2 women of a certain age in North Carolina. And we had a talk back after, and the women were actually in tears saying, "You don't know what it's like for us to see ourselves on stage." And no one is addressing that or giving us voice. And that just really hit me, that this was more than a comedy play. This was actually touching someone in the heart, and it just made me want to do more to get that play up and going.
Well, have a few other programs of yours
Yes,
that I have
programs.
watched.
Yeah.
I
Fame? Did you
also
watch Fame?
did I watch what?
Fame?
I did not watch Fame. I see that's on your IMDb.
Janet Jackson, her first music
I'm
video.
familiar with it, but I didn't watch it. I did watch a little bit of Something Wilder not that long
Oh,
ago,
oh, good
oddly
job.
enough. I don't know how I ended up watching that. I like to watch old shows that I've never heard of on YouTube. And I like Gene Wilder, and I see you were on there. Um,
Yeah, we
how was
kept wanting
that?
to get fired from that, but we couldn't.
What was
They
it?
kept praising our credit and giving us more to do. Gene took a liking to us, and he saw, you know, that we were the real deal, and we honored him. And I mean, I was obviously as a young kid, I just thought he was such a comic genius.
And this was
It
in
was interesting because,
'94.
but he smelled like baby powder. That was
Really?
if you got up real close. Um, and the interesting thing is because he was known as a physical comedian, but sitcoms are very verbal. And I remember he came to the writers' room. He said, "I wish you guys could like come up with a scene where I didn't have to talk." And then
Mm.
he left the room and was thinking, "But Gene, it's a sitcom. You have to talk." And then we came. I said, "No, no, no. We'll figure it out." So we thought that he had to go to the dentist. He hated dentists, and the hygienist or whoever gives the Novocaine. But she was so nervous that she actually doesn't do he does mouth and then his leg and then his arm.
Oh God.
So he couldn't talk. And he was like very physical, and it was so hysterical. And it was just I like situations like that where you have like a little sandbox you have to play in, and how can you be creative within that? And that's
Well,
what
I'm gonna
TV
have to
is,
look for
because
that one.
you're dealing with network censors and things you can't do. Like the lesbian kiss on Roseanne, we couldn't do it. We were told it was never going to air, and so it's fun to kind of push the envelope a little bit.
And that was in an era where I felt like every celebrity, they gave them a sitcom. Bette Midler, Gina Davis, Gregory Hines. And none of them lasted, despite the fact that they were all, major stars. I guess that was just a thing that was in Hollywood at that time. Maybe they'll bring it back and give some more random people shows. But speaking of,
It's interesting they do
mhm,
talk about the TV invent stars. But the TV industry thinks if you are a star, that'll draw you to it. But when you think of people didn't know Ted Danson and Shelley Long and
true.
all of the people, Roseanne, Tim Allen. I mean, they all were invented by television, and television is such a powerful medium that I wish. Yes, it's fun to see a Bette Midler in a TV show, but I miss the days when they would find new comics or new actors and put them into shows.
Well, they can put me in one. I'm ready to go. I act, I sing, I
Well,
dance.
you
I'm a
need
triple
to
threat.
write your own show.
True. Maybe I will do that. I mean, I have my YouTube channel for 15 years, but I feel like I need to expand beyond that.
I'm
And
sure you have an interesting story somewhere in there.
I'll have plenty, so maybe
Okay.
I need to write them down now.
Yeah.
And you said you will save the best for last before Golden Girls, of course. Roseanne, who apparently is bringing herself back with the new show. Are you writing for the new show, or did you just write for that
Um,
original one?
we did not end, not amicably. So when we got hired on staff, so we turned down the show the first season before it was on the air. They offered us a staff job, and I don't know why we said no. I think the commitment they wanted was so long, and none of the other actors had been cast. I had loved her. The minute I saw her on the Tonight Show, I called my agent and I said, "This Roseanne Barr person, can you get us a meeting with her?" And our agent said, "No one will ever make a show with someone that looks like that."
Oh wow.
Yeah, so he's no longer our agent. And so then it came around again in that season, and we were very happy. But it was a very fraught year. It was the last year that Tom and Roseanne were together, and they split up that year. And even though Tom had picked up our option for the next year, she wanted to get rid of everybody that had anything to do with Tom. And my writing partner did not want to sue, even though we would have had grounds, because technically he called our agents and said their option is picked up. My writing partner, was ready to just do something else.
Mm.
I would have liked to have stayed. I just loved that show. I liked that it told real stories and dealt with, situations, especially economically in the middle class, that we just didn't see in television since Norman Lear.
Yeah.
And I love that, seeing that struggle. and that sometimes the show was really funny, and other times it was actually very sad. Interestingly, I went to Moscow in 2015 through Sony to help them create a Russian Roseanne show. And that was really interesting. And they kept saying, why can't you make it funnier? It should be funnier and more jokey. And I said, no, that's the whole point of that series, was that it felt like more like real life, you know, and it wasn't joke.
Did that ever make it to air?
No, we couldn't find the Roseanne. I mean, I found some ladies. When I got there, I said, you know, I'll go to every stand-up comedy club in Russia, you know, because that's how they found Roseanne. And they said, oh, we don't have comedy clubs here. I'm like, well, you should. So then I started going to theater. Like I went to the Moscow Art Theater where Stanislavski created method acting. And I saw some great actresses, and they were like, oh, we don't want to do television. So it's a whole different mentality there. I did find some really cool ladies, and we filmed a couple of screen tests, but the network never liked they could never settle on anybody. I mean, those are some tough shoes to fill.
Well, you should have got, I think it was Russia, it might have been Germany. I know it was a foreign Golden Girls, and one of them, the Dorothy, looks just like Roseanne. You should have got that, lady. Oh, well. Too late now. I don't think you want to do it at this point.
No, they did do Gold. No, I don't think I'd want to go back right now to Moscow. For years I did. I met great people. I went on dates there. I had a great time, even though when I went over, I was scared to death. And it was a real culture shock, but I'm a runner, so I would do my morning runs through Red Square, and that was super cool.
They have great hats, really great hats, so with the fur and everything.
I'm not a hat person, really. But it was interesting, and I can understand more now, because I have friends that are still there. And when all this happened with Ukraine, I was texting and saying, are you okay? And are you getting the information? Do you know what's really happening? And a bunch of them, you know, the ones that were gay, got out of there. They somehow were able to get out of the country and went to other places and had to start a life. And some of them had to leave everything and had their bank accounts frozen. Can you imagine that?
Yikes. Welcome, Kay. You came right in the middle of our political conversation.
There we go. Yes.
It's going to be so good we named it on CNN. But as you see, we're with our old pal Stan, the man Zimmerman, and we were just talking about the work you did on Roseanne. I do want to ask, do you watch The Conners?
I did at the beginning, and I was actually posting about it, and people were like very excited about my commentary, because what I used to like about Roseanne was that it remembered, like, it was real life. It remembered past experiences. And then they just started like, oh, Jackie didn't have a baby and all these things.
And Jerry Garcia, where the hell is he? He's on an oil rig, allegedly.
Yeah, everyone's on an oil rig or on Ambien. And then, you know, when that whole thing went down with when she was fired, I was asked to go on CNN. You can Google that, and Brooke Baldwin, and talk about that catastrophe. And I had a very specific point of view of it, in that I felt I wish she had grabbed the moment to talk about, if she didn't know that Valor was black, learn about it. If you didn't know why it could be offensive to somebody, learn about it, talk about it. That's my whole thing, is talk. When the whole thing with Whoopi Goldberg recently, got suspended because of the race subject, I was asked to go on Ashley Banfield's show, and it's like, she doesn't have to apologize for anything. She gave her view from where she is in her life right now. The show is called The View, and that's her view. And we can talk about, I can't fully understand, because I didn't live in her shoes. She can't fully understand me as a Jewish person, knowing about the talk about the master race. But she literally went to the Jewish Defense League, got somebody, brought him on the air, and started having the discussion, and they still banned her for 2 weeks. Like, if someone is that open to starting the discussion, why are we punishing them? I just didn't understand that. So I was very much Team Whoopi. And, that was all that insanity. And so my whole theme is, like, we need to have those messy discussions. Kay's going, I thought we were talking about the Golden Girls. This is supposed to be fun.
Here for it all.
We'll get to that.
But you know what? The Golden Girls got into some stuff, and they weren't afraid to get into, whether it was suicide or all the stuff in dementia, and that's what I loved about that, and that's what I loved about Roseanne. And I just wish she had taken that opportunity to not blame Ambien or other people and just say, even if she just said, I fucked up, I screwed up, or, you know, sometimes comics, we go over the line, or like explain it to me, or like, let's have the discussion about it. I think that is the only way we can all move forward as a society together. It's crazy.
Well, allegedly, I just saw that she asked could she go on The View the next day to try to explain herself, and they wouldn't let her. So now that I know that, I felt like, well, if they had let her go on there, then maybe they didn't have to kill her off. But I kind of like it better without her, and it's odd
Really?
that I do. I liked the original Roseanne, but I didn't like Roseanne in the reboot. I felt like she wasn't the same Roseanne. And I felt like they've kind of moved along nicely. I know a lot of shows will kill people, and it's kind of like, what the hell? But I think they did it in a good way. It is kind of interesting that Katie Sagal replaced her because they wanted Roseanne to play Peg Bundy. So I guess it kind of went full circle a little bit. But
I wanted Katie Sagal to be Rita Rocks.
Really?
And there was a minute and a half, you know, she sings her ass off. You know,
I
she used
could
to
see
do
that.
backup. She used to do backup for Bette Midler. She was one of the
didn't know that.
Harlettes. Yeah. And she wanted to do it for a second, and then I think she got talked out of it. But and then we also had Cyndi Lauper was going to do it. Can you imagine that?
That would have been interesting.
That would have been, yes, to hear her sing. I mean, we probably would have had to switch it from a Detroit suburb to New Jersey or something. But yeah, I love Katie Sagal. I think she's just so talented in so many different ways.
And I wish they hadn't canceled the show she just had on ABC. I don't remember what it was called. It was not on long enough for me to read the full title. But she was, it was kind of like Erin Brockovich, I think, and she was just kicking people's asses.
Actually, Erin Brockovich was involved as a producer.
But again, you know, if it was up to me, most shows would be on the air for 10 years. But everything I like, I don't even want to like it because I'm like, well, if I like it, it'll be gone soon. So what's the point? What is your opinion on that before I get to the Golden Girls about how they don't give shows a chance now? You get like 2 episodes.
They're very trigger happy. You know, it's a bottom line. They want money, and if people aren't watching, they're not. And when you think about shows like Seinfeld, Cheers, those all started at the bottom of the rating.
Exactly.
You know, Golden Girls started, you know, around 15 and kept building, but it started up high. And yeah, I think people's attention span is just you know, it's now or never kind of thing.
It's so sad. But pivoting back to Golden Girls, for those of you listening, this is about the Golden Girls, but as a TV nerd, I have my TV encyclopedias over here I used to read as a kid. I have to ask these questions, and you all can listen to it. And if you don't want to do that, I'll put a timestamp for when we start talking about the Golden Girls. But anyway, you were on the Golden Girls for only 1 season. Why would you leave the world's greatest show?
You got to read the book and find out.
You're going to make us wait? We don't get an exclusive?
Yeah,
So Good We Named It?
I'll come back on and do another one.
Okay. So we'll wait for the book.
It was politics, and it was really silly. And, you know, I mean, I can conjecture because no one's going to say it out loud. I think there's probably some homophobia involved. I think, you know, when you get the egos of some straight white men, you know, that's what happens. And that's part of the business. And I've had to accept it, and you know, I can only be bitter for so long, and then you take those moments, and how can I be a better person? And
well, look at you now.
Look at me now. I'm in a Beatrice Arthur T-shirt, and I'm talking to the 2 beautiful people that I met at Goldencon. Isn't it amazing? Like, I've had so many people say, like, they keep seeing articles. It keeps growing. It was just a very. There was so much love there.
Quite an experience. Unfortunately, we're in none of these articles, but
right.
It was.
You need a better publicist next time,
or a publicist.
Right.
Period.
Yeah, there you go.
But it was really just surreal to be in the room with writers and actors from a show that I've been obsessed with for years. Like, my funeral will be Golden Girls theme. Like, this is a thing. So I'm very, you know, still getting over it because I had COVID. I didn't really get to process, so I'm still riding the high from that, among other things. And it's legal in our state. Don't judge us, anyone listening.
Don't judge me. Who are you to judge me?
Exactly. But
legal in this state too.
See, well, there you go. You're in LA, right? Maybe that's where I should move so I can make it big and still get high. But I read recently, doing my research, that you all were told to stay in the closet, which is odd because it's such a gay show and there was a gay main character. So who the hell cares? Like, what was the reasoning behind it?
It was a different time, and we were told by our agents that you don't talk about your personal life if you want to stay on staff there. It was again a very straight world.
I guess
and,
I would think that would be the one show where it wouldn't be like
you
that.
would think. And Mark Cherry, who did Desperate Housewives, and he was a writer on Golden Girls later on, he's been very sweet about acknowledging me and Jim being not only, there were two of us together, two gay guys on staff there. And, we weren't pushing any agenda. We were just telling real stories. And it was kind of sad because I wanted to, when you're at work, like any normal job, you just talk about what happened. What did you do this weekend? Oh, where did you go last night? Oh my God, I had a date, or I went to this bar and I met so-and-so, or I'm in love, or I hate that person. And we couldn't talk about any of that. And so I didn't realize when I started writing my book, how that was kind of a theme of it. Like, as an artist, how can you be truly creative when you're holding back such an important part of yourself? And it was amazing that we were able to, through these women, still be honest, and then to see the trajectory of our careers in conjunction with Hollywood opening up, and us being, I think we were the first comedy writing team. We got asked if we would be in a newspaper article with our pictures, and we were like told, don't do that. I'm like, I didn't fucking care anymore. I was like, this is who I am, and we did. And then for it to go to something like Roseanne, when I think we got hired because we were gay, and then Tom Arnold is running around the halls going, where are my gay guys? Where are my gay guys? Like, and he would, we would have a lawsuit if that was happening today.
Yeah, I'm surprised you don't have more gay shows, I guess, on your IMDb. I mean, Paulie, I did watch that too.
Oh my God.
Yeah, wasn't the gayest of shows.
Well, we wrote Brothers, was a Showtime gay show. And if you've done your research, we've been trying to get this Silver Foxes show, which started at Logo. They hired us to write a gay men's Golden Girls. And we wrote it, and before we handed it in, I thought, because I'm in theater, we do play readings. So I said, let's do a reading in my living room. And I cold called George Takei and Leslie Jordan. I didn't know them from anybody. And I just said, hi, here's who I am, here's the show. And they're like, we'll be there. I'm like, oh, fuck, they're going to be at my house. And we got Sherry O'Terry from SNL and Melissa Peterman from Reba. And
oh my God.
Oh my gosh, and Bruce Valanche.
Where's the show?
I read about that years ago.
Like, you have the show. And I brought a producer from Rita Rocks. I said, we can tell you the money. We don't have money to do it. I'm like, okay.
Let me get my checkbook, because I saw something about this before, and I was like, yeah, right, it's never going to come out, because you get excited about the reboots, and you hear nothing else. And I didn't know you or who you were at the time, but I remember that, and I was so ready.
Well, it became an international story, because I was doing press for a web series I was doing, and I told the truth. We could not get one network or streaming company or cable company to open the script, to read the script, just read it.
Wow.
It was old people and it was gay people.
Wow.
We were told, well, it wasn't broad enough audience. I'm like, have you seen Golden Girls?
Right.
The audience for this?
That would have been fabulous. That's like a universal audience. I would have watched it.
Well, so I think you getting to know a little bit about me. I don't take no. I don't like sit down for that. So I said, let's turn it into a play. And we just did, and we just did a reading upstairs here with Jim J. Bullock from Too Close for Comfort. Do you know him?
Oh,
I
nice.
am familiar with that show. Isn't that the one that the guy from Mary Tyler Moore was on, Ted?
Yeah, at night. And I think we just got offered to do a world premiere in Dallas in March of 23, so both of you will be there. And
yes, we will.
So we're hoping that it becomes this play, and that the networks will see the success of the play and go,
and then make it into.
Is it the same cast?
It's not the same cast. Leslie Jordan is too busy on the Mayim Bialik show to do
Call
theater.
Me Kat. which I also watch. I watch everything. I also watched him on the show with Vicki Lawrence too. That got canceled. I love a good one-season show. It's my favorite.
Yeah, he's such a sweetheart, and he's like, "Oh, I'd love to do your play, but it's a lot of work, and I'm doing TV now." And
I'll do his part. I'm not on TV.
Okay, there you go.
All right, there we go.
You could be the twink.
I don't think I'm in twink territory anymore.
You'd have to save that
and diet, but I'll do what it takes to make it in the biz. But it's good to know they're still working on it because I would love to see that.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I think it's really going to help propel it, and people have been very responsive to, like Golden Girls. Not only there's so much humor, but there's so much humanity to it, and really, and one of the reasons we wrote it is that we were told to watch this documentary called Gen Silent, and it's about how seniors of the LGBTQ community have to go back in the closet when they go into assisted living, which I knew nothing about. So can you imagine your whole life? Yes. Can you imagine your whole life you work to come out of the closet and then you turn 60 and nope, you can't, if you're in there with your lover, you can't touch them. You can't acknowledge them.
But why?
Why? Because a lot of these places are run by conservative groups or older conservative people are there, and they don't want to rock the community. I know, isn't that insane?
But you know what's crazy? A lot of people are gay. They just don't.
So I've heard.
Don't say that. But the people who make the rules against the negative rules or whatever against other gay people, they're gay too. They're just not open with it. So the audacity, that's hypocrisy.
Right.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the world today.
Oh God, that's terrible.
So that's why we decided that the one character, the Leslie Jordan, the gayest man alive, he's got to butch it up.
I love him.
And his friends are like, "Oh no! You got to be who you are. You are a fabulous person." And they get kicked out of the assisted living place, and they move into their house in Palm Springs, and that's the play. So hopefully you'll be seeing it soon. And like Lucy, nobody wanted to make the I Love Lucy show and have Ricky be cast with Desi Arnaz because that was taboo then to have a Latin husband. So you know what she did? She made a little play. She took it on the road, and it was so popular that the network's like, well, all right, we'll give it a try. Right. So I'm stealing a little bit from Lucy to get this show out there into the world.
Well, hopefully you won't have the elderly doing harmful stunts like in her last show before she passed, where she's jumping off of ladders and she's 78. Hopefully you won't follow that path that she was on. But
that was scary. I remember seeing that, when I was starting in the business, and don't put her on a ladder. Oh my God, how'd they get insurance for that one?
But I was thinking I should write a play recently, and maybe I need to. That's how you get anywhere, is writing a play. I don't know who's going to be in it or I'm going to pay for it.
That's how Tyler Perry started, too, with all the plays.
I used to go to his early plays, and I drag my friends like Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman.
Yes.
I would drag him to those plays. They were so outrageous and funny, and and look at him now.
Right.
And unlike him, everybody will have decent wigs when I have my movies.
Don't shade him, Tyler. We're so
come on the show, Tyler. We'd love to see you.
When we first started, but it's okay. We're so sorry.
that is somebody that I kind of emulate in a way.
I know, but the budgets on his TV shows are so low on those sitcoms he makes that literally when they shut the door, you see the walls shake. Like in a high school
But
play.
Medea's hair is always on point. If anybody's it's Medea's.
Well, that's where the money's spent.
As it should be. But,
exactly.
I kind of want to do that too. Write it myself, star in it, produce it, because I'm a control freak, but that's besides the point.
Micromanager.
A little bit. On Golden Girls.
He's going yeah.
I mean, she knows what time it is.
She knows.
On Golden Girls, I know you wrote that famous line from your mug, "No, I will not have a nice day."
No,
I will not have a nice day. What other lines are yours specifically that are kind of iconic now?
I haven't been in a position like that since I gave birth.
Or specific episodes?
Well, the flu, the electrical appliance.
I said that the other day to someone.
Well, you owe me 10 cents.
Damn.
when she says, about how sick she is, but she can still look so good.
That was also me. I guess I just steal all your lines all the time.
And then we can move on to Sure Jan, which has become like
Sure Jan. We say that all the time.
That is one of my favorite movies, actually.
Thank you.
The Brady sequel, and they need to bring that back too.
We wrote both of them, and we want to do a series like on Hulu or Netflix, and all three of the women from the movie want to do it, and we were calling it the Brady Ladies, and Marcia, Jan, and Cindy moved to West Hollywood because and living in today's West Hollywood, but still, wearing clothes and living.
I would love that.
Yeah.
So
be hysterical. Come on.
Again,
yeah, for sure.
What is going on out there? They need me in charge.
Going on? I've got a lot of stuff I want to do.
Okay, do you have room for us to put us in something?
Well, you can be in the apartment doing a podcast of Golden Girls next door. RuPaul, we want to be the superintendent of the building, so that
I would also love that.
And her daughter's Moesha.
Yes. Would she still be Mrs. Cummings?
Of course.
Okay, just making sure.
That was my idea.
And that uppity white woman, Shelley Long, as Sophia would say, is she going to be in it?
Well, she'll make a guest appearance.
Okay.
I'm excited for this.
Don't get me too excited because they never put anything out, like the Designing Women reboot. They love announcing stuff and you never hear anything. But please notify me personally if this gets picked up so I can be prepared to watch that. And hopefully there'll be something. I believe you said you were not affiliated with the Brady's in the White House one. Okay, good.
We just did those two
that one I didn't care for as much, but I still watched anyway because I watch everything. I watch the Brady Brides. I watch the Bradys in the 90s. I just love TV. So any reboot, whatever, I'm there, even if it's terrible. I watched the Murphy Brown one.
Was really Betty Thomas, the director of the first Brady Bunch movie, and we were only hired for 2 weeks. And she said, you got to write it for 3 different groups of people. Little kids that had never seen the show, their parents or people older that grew up on it, and stoners. And we're like, got all 3, especially the last one.
Right.
And we really wrote it, and we went like out of control, and we couldn't change the set or who was in the scene, but everything within that, because they'd already blocked out what days they were shooting each scene. So she'd just say like, okay, you have, Greg and Marcia, whatever, in this. And we would come back with just the craziest shit, and she kept saying yes.
Yeah, I watched it not that long ago, and I was like, oh my God, I don't remember it being this outrageous, like with Jean Smart's character, and then...
Well, do you know what she said in there? Like, I would have a Brady sandwich? Like, you could never do that.
Right, like so much of that movie, I was like, oh my God, I was a kid watching this? Where was my mother?
Well, we wanted it to be, it went over the heads of kids, and their parents were like, oh my God, that's so funny. I can't believe they did that. So it was very innocent sounding, but yet it was, and I think that, we didn't come up with the idea of the Bradys being stuck in time. That was already in the scripts before us, but we just went crazy with it. Like, we added all those long stories that Mike Brady told. They didn't have any of that, We took each character, and the whole...
And amplified them.
Yes, and that was what was so fun. Probably the most fun we've had on any job.
Well, to this day, I can't get on an escalator without wanting to sing Sunshine Day. So you did your job. For those of us that are hardcore fans, I think it's pretty obvious if you're watching season 1, not just from Blanche's hairdo, but the writing, the video work, which, if you read Jim Colucci's book, Golden Girls Forever, you'll find out more about that. But it really does seem so different from the rest of the series. And having left after the first season, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, they did some beautiful work, but it did seem like they kept treading the same ground over and over. And I had to stop watching because it felt like they were doing versions of what we had done. And part of that, I think, was not their fault. It was a different business model, whereas they wanted every show because it wasn't like now TV shows are serialized. They wanted they could be in syndication. They could interchange them. So they didn't have full real growth of character. And so I think that's why, to me, it just felt repetitive. And I think that's why B. Arthur was like, what more I've done it. I've done them all. What more can I say and do? But in the first year, we were discovering all of that. Like, we're we're like watching, going, wait a minute, Rose tells these long stories. And that's why we did the dime in the door handle thing very early on, when you think about it. When she goes, Rose, that's how you tell a story. That we wrote that because we her, and then we were sitting around the room and coming up with these St. Olaf, and we came up with St. Olaf. We were going through a phone book and looking through cities.
Oh.
And how we landed on St. Olaf. I remember, where we were then. And then finding out that B. Arthur didn't need a line. She could just shoot a look, and that would get a huge laugh and save us a lot of time. So those are all things that it can be very exciting in a new show. It can be also very terrifying if the ratings aren't great on the show. Like with Gene Wilder, they were kind of okay. So the network would always come in and wanting us to do this, do that, or we tested this, don't do that, do more of that. And so you can't second guess an audience. They're gonna do whatever they're gonna do, and they're gonna fall in love with the people and the characters. And but so many networks get very stuck on, why are you telling that story, or that doesn't make sense? And if you love them, you love them. I mean, did the Friends show make any sense? No. But you just like those actors, and we all, well, I didn't, but most people fell for them.
Well, I do want to ask, what happened to the vase? Do you have any insight on that? Because it came back after she shot it, and then it was gone again. Did someone steal it? Or, I mean, that always has bothered me. I don't know if you have insight. Yes, like, where's all this fuss about the vase, and then it's gone?
I just think it was out of order. Like, the episodes are just out of order or something.
Maybe, because I do know they did show a lot out of order, so maybe it was shot for good, and, we just saw it in the wrong sequence.
And also back then, remember, there wasn't something like the internet where you could just pull up any episode, and there wasn't people, putting it on their phones or making clips. So the only time you would see most of the stuff is if it was when it was on the first time or in reruns. So, and a lot of times, which I hated, when we'd be around the room and I would bring up something like that, and they go, "Oh, nobody's gonna remember."
Well,
like no one thought that there's gonna be cons and TV nerds and people like really analyzing every little thing. They just, and I kept saying, but you're not being honest and truthful. Like, people are tuning in for a reason, and it wouldn't take that much more energy. And then I would always go, "Oh, Stan, just relax, and you're too serious about this."
I mean, I'm like that too. Like with my YouTube videos, I'll reference something from 10 years ago. I'm like, no one knows, no one's gonna remember, but I know. And just in case there is that one person, I needed to match up. So they should have listened to you. Definitely. And I feel like the first season, as far as the set goes, they were changing stuff every other episode before it got to its like official, this is it. Maybe they were trying to figure something out. In the pilot, it looked like hoarders. I don't know what was going on in Blanche's house. But maybe that was Coco's stuff and he took it with him. Speaking of which, do you regret that they got rid of Coco, or do you feel like it needed to happen?
I don't regret it. He needed to go just because when they saw Estelle and Sophia, they realized that was their fourth person. They did need another character. I wish they would have dealt with him in a real way, like either bring him back for another episode or say he get another job somewhere or something. But just to have him just disappear and like not a word. I don't like things like that. Again, I just like be honest with people, and that would be. And it's an interesting character, like and he was a great actor. Why not bring him back with something? I mean. I'm sure we must have pitched stories and they were like, nope, he's gone. Get him out. Don't talk about him ever again.
Well,
just forget he ever existed.
Were there stories that you wanted to tell specifically that you didn't get a chance to, or things that had you stayed longer you would have wanted the characters to do?
I'm sure a million. I do. You'll see in the book, I found a list of some pitches that we had. So you'll you
can give us one, can't you? Your old pals Barrett and Kate.
The only thing I do remember, well, it's just a joke. I did tell this at the con, is that I wanted to do a joke about Betty White's hair looking like George Washington.
It was very presidential.
Laughed in the room because like it doesn't move, but it literally she would look like that if you look from the back. And they thought it was too mean, and she wouldn't like it.
Oh, but they can drag B. Arthur to hell.
Talk about everything else. They can say how ugly Dorothy is, but that would be
right.
And Blanche's big butt and all of that.
Which she didn't even have a big butt. They were all shapely, actually, underneath the large clothes that they wore.
All the multi-layers.
Wasn't that crazy? In Miami, they were wearing all that clothes.
Yeah, all the layers.
Even when they would say,
Miami.
"Oh, it's the heat wave," like in the pilot, I think Dorothy says, "I'm gonna sit where it's 106 and eat enchiladas," and she's wearing like multiple layers yet again. Maybe the AC system was really good.
Probably some boots.
Yeah, the winter boots, which
Yeah.
I don't know what that's about. It's hard to find a slouch boot in a men's 12 when you want to dress up like Dorothy.
Some of those outfits, I just go like, oh my gosh! And of course, that wedding dress, the toilet paper.
Horrible,
It was
horrible. Blanche's was much better. What was the reasoning behind starting the show with the main character getting married and then he's a bigamist? Like, that's a very odd pilot. I feel like they do have weddings a lot, like in Friends, but this was an interesting way to start.
I mean, I wasn't there for that. That was all Susan Harris. I think it was a good way to have and that story's been done a lot. I don't know before, but definitely after, of when your friends know something that you don't know. Mm-hmm. So if you tell them, well, they think that you're just jealous. And it was a good way to have a Blanche lead story, but all the other characters had a very difficult moral decision of what to do.
Mm-hmm. True.
So
and it was a good way to show.
Then you're questioning the whole setup of like, will they have a place to live? Even though we all know at the end, of course, they're going to all live there. I mean, then what would happen if no, she's getting married? Right. So that's a difficult part about when you come up with the pilot story, is to make it believable when you know this. You have to come up with a conflict that seems real and that actually could go the other way.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like season 1 had a lot of serious moments. I think it balanced drama and comedy a lot. And then towards the end, as with most shows, it got very self-referential and sillier. I personally kind of like that. But just for shows in general, and of course the Golden Girls, do you prefer when they stay more grounded? Or are you okay with them getting silly after a couple of years?
I'm not a silly person. I mean, what I liked about Roseanne was that the tags, which are the little pieces you do at the end of the show, that's when we really got silly. I mean, it'd be like you can do any crazy shit you wanted to do. But the show was very, very real. I personally think that's your best place for comedy, is based on something real. And they told us, don't write it like a special episode of Facts of Life. We want all these episodes to feel like they're coming from real issues and stuff that women really dealt with. And so it was really about going out, listening, and, talking to my mother and my grandmother, and, then writing things down. And then like, what are you writing down? Like, don't worry. And then, they would often see it later on the TV show.
Well, with Roseanne, I didn't like the last season. I don't like it that silly. But, Sophia jumping off of a roof, that I'll allow. Or in a mammy costume. So, there's a line. But
the lottery, that whole thing, it took away what was so special about the show, I think. But there was no, she got to a point where no one was saying no to her.
I got to get to that point.
I think Kay is at that point with you right now.
True. And with it being so serious, like the first time I watched the heart attack, I think I thought, oh, are they really going to kill her? Like it kind of seemed like they were. Was that a point that they wanted to get across to the audience, that she might really die, or was that not thought of?
Those are the reality of the situations. I mean, when you're that age, things really happen, and dealing with like AIDS or, relatives that are gay or different issues. That's what people were dealing with.
So you wanted to scare us a little bit and think Sophia might not make
No,
it.
it's not scaring. It's taking you to the edge and finding the humor and finding your way back. I mean, my father used to say I looked at life through rose-colored glasses. And I guess I do look at the joy of things and not, glass half full and, oh, woe is me.
It was kind of, now that I think about it, a lot of serious stuff. Virginia's kidney, David, who apparently his mother was a teen mom if he's 15 and Blanche is like 50. But there was a lot of those back to back, but it still wasn't preachy. It wasn't, over the top. And, just thinking.
At the end of the day, it had to be really, really, really fun.
Right.
And that's what
and it's a good balance.
It has to be funny, but not jokes just for joke's sake. Jokes coming from character, and hearing each one of their points of view, even the fact like with the lesbian thing, to spin that and have Blanche be hurt that it wasn't her. I mean, that's a brilliant way to not
tie it in.
Tie it in, and her point of view, but yet it's so Blanche. It's so perfect. And yet you're going, that's a great way to tell that story. She could have been shocked and horrible and it's disgusting, but no, she wanted to be liked, you know? And I think things like that that was really smart.
And I think after the first season, it would be maybe 1 or 2 serious episodes. But the first season, it's like serious. And I didn't really think about it until we started talking that is kind of how it was, which could have been interesting to see it continue in that way. You know, in a dramedy almost, but you know.
But you never felt it was a dramedy.
Right, you didn't.
It was laugh out loud, funny.
And then right back to something serious, and then another big laugh, which is hard to do. You know, as I'm sure you know.
Let me tell you, there were some long nights there that, you know, and when you have actors of that caliber, you don't just like go home at 10 o'clock and go, oh, it'll be okay.
Right.
You stayed because you could not let them see just anything mediocre. We had to give them the best. And, you know, there's been a lot of talk how B was like, you know, who are these young kids writing for me? You know, meaning me and Jim. That, you know, when they got the script, you know, late at night, thrown at their door, because there was not email to be sending it.
Right.
It had to be a really, like, solid, funny script.
Well,
did any of the girls ever refuse to do any of the jokes or anything that you wrote? Never.
You know,
love it.
So unusual because almost every show I've been on, you know, I mean, I guess I still have some PTSD from Roseanne and the screaming, throwing things out that then they were glad to be working on such a show like this with their co-stars, and they saw how hard we were working, and God bless them, in every single interview they brought up the writing, and you don't see that on shows, and we knew that and we appreciated that.
Yeah, I feel like every time you've ever seen them, they say, oh, it's the writing, it's not us, it's the writing, and you really don't see that. Most actors are like, yeah, I know, I'm pretty great, aren't I? So
no, and interestingly, when we went to go for the Roseanne job, what is the one thing that they said to us? There'll be no patting on the back here. And we were like, that's okay. We want the job, you know? And then, but you know what? You need that. And I learned that. So like when I went on Rita Rocks and running the show, because it was our show, it's so important to always say thank you. I mean, in any job, you have people working with you. You want people to come to work excited about work, not like, oh God, or fuck my phone, you know? So it's just a different mentality. And you can tell, and that's what's amazing about Roseanne, that we still manage great scripts. But then you had great actors like John Goodman and Laurie Metcalf.
Well, I think it does show, because even at Goldencon, I'm expecting all these Hollywood types, like, don't look at me, don't talk to me, and everybody's just super, you know,
everybody
cool.
Was great.
They're just glad to be in the mix, and I think it's kind of spilled over the years that they're like the ones that started this mentality and this vibe, and it just passed through the cast and the crew. And...
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. No, I mean, the producers were not nice to me and Jim, and that was on one of the panels when I for the first time I got to ask Marsha Posner Williams. They never gave us, you know how they have director's chairs with everyone's name on the back? Every writer, not me and Jim.
Oh, that's not nice.
Hell no.
It's like, and they made a stand. Not even that we didn't have a chair with our name on it. We didn't have a chair to sit on. Like, give us one. Give me Beatrice Arthur's chair, I'll take. No, we had to stand. I mean, like, really? You're gonna make me stand for like 3 hours of this? And she said something like, you were just a staff writer. You were like, you know, the lowest on the totem pole. I'm like, so what? I mean, you're part of the team. I put in just as many hours that the other writers did. Like, just, can you imagine how one little thing like that, how much money could it have been to make a chair when they were like gazillionaires, that we would go like, oh, I love being here. I'm feel valued. And that's what's still so amazing, that we could get so much good work and not feel that way then.
Well, that's unfortunate, but I'll say a good chunk of people have a very good vibe about
Well,
working on the
everybody
show.
else down below. And I think the actors were so excited, especially when you get to like, Lenny Green and all those actors that started coming in. They were coming in when the show was at the top. So can you imagine as an actor starting out, you're like, holy moly, I'm playing B. Arthur as a young woman. Or they knew when you got a guest spot on that show, you were going to get funny lines. And you were working opposite legends. So I think you got really good people in all. And the directors are really sweet. And when they came on set, all the actors were really nice. So a lot of people didn't know the dysfunction that was happening
behind the scenes
in season 1 for us.
Sounds like our job. I wonder, how would you have ended the show had you been there season 7? Would you have married Dorothy off to some random uncle we've never heard of and had them buy a hotel?
Right.
No, I probably would have pitched that they get a new roommate and stayed in the house. And
that's what I said.
I think that would have been more interesting, or bring another woman. And
I mean, Designing Women did it like 8 times, and I liked all of the people they brought in. So
I mean, at least I would have said, just let's write an episode with that, and let's see what as an episode what it worked. Maybe it would be like a really annoying new roommate.
I should have brought back Coco.
That would have been a good ending to
well,
it, yeah.
I feel like when they had Truby come, Debbie Reynolds, that should have been the finale. She should have just married Stan, and then Truby could have stayed, or even Greta Wagner. Somebody could have come. They could have had a few people.
There were so many actors that could have done it. That was really chancy to go do a whole new environment.
Yeah.
I like it just because I love everything Golden Girls, but it makes no sense.
I don't like the show.
Wow.
I've told you I didn't like it.
You haven't seen all of it yet.
I've just seen enough, and from what I've seen, it's okay.
Wow. Well,
but I won't be like, oh, let's go.
Well, Don Cheadle's not going to come on the show now, thanks to you.
Don, I loved you in Crash, Don.
I haven't seen that. I only watch things written by Stan Zimmerman, clearly.
There you go. As it should be.
I do have one last question. I don't want to keep you forever. I'm sure you have many important things to do.
Oh, man. Yeah.
But I'm curious.
Eat dinner, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't eaten either. I was like, well, I'll eat later.
Me too.
I was far too busy preparing for this. I'm curious, with the Dorothy bashing, as they say, was it a conscious decision to just start ragging on P. Arthur's looks, or did it just go with one joke and then another joke and then just got out of hand?
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad about that. But like one time we did it, she made the joke. Like when she says, no, it was before I had the hump on my back.
Yes, that one.
That was our line. To me, her being empowered by it, because she's saying, rather than, it gets awkward to me when other people say it, like Sophia says it about her. And that must have been hard for her to take. I'd have to relook at the scripts. Like, if we really did that, it doesn't feel like it's my sensibility to just be like, you're ugly, or you're that. Like, that's not my style at all. But I'd have to, you probably know better than I would.
I think she wasn't, I think she was more empowered. She was more like Maude in the pilot. She came in going off about her students, shooting the school up, which now probably wouldn't be as appropriate. But I feel like over time they kind of beat her down. And there's times where she doesn't even say anything back. She's just like, oh, okay. And I'm like, oh, that's sad.
You mean about her looks?
Yeah, well, a couple of them, she doesn't even do that. She's just like shrugs it off like, I'm used to it. And allegedly that's part of why she left the show. I mean, it is funny, but, like they say, it's about her. It's not really about Dorothy, because she does look like that. And I think it's kind of unfortunate. But, of course, you're looking at it from, 2022 lenses, because she also was date raped by Stanley. So, you gotta look at things.
And our point of, like, when we did the hump on the back, it was more, actually, my grandmother had, like, a slight hump. So it came from real story. And it was more about, like, I'm getting older. Like, look at me getting older. Not like, oh, I'm ugly, or man, or whatever it was, or facial hair. I don't know. Like, I hope we didn't do those kind of things. Season 1?
I don't think so. That's when it got a little sillier when they got into that stuff. It was still more of the serious. Even her voice seemed deeper. Like everything was just so serious in the first season. The makeup was darker, and then it kind of turned around in the season finale with the improvised Betty White story about the herring, where Rue and B just broke character. I've made it my mission to search for that in every single tweet. I respond with my evidence that that is not the case. I don't know why I care so much. But
so, maybe that's when did we connect over that?
Are you the one that posted the script and you were saying these are the notes?
I started with like, guys, just stop. Like I was there, they never did that. And then Isabel, I think, saw something I did, and then people started sending things in, and people were like, what do you know? Well, it's always funny when people go like, what do you know? And then they go, and then someone says, because he was there, and then they start arguing about me, and I'm like going, oh, I gotta just step away from this. And my point is, isn't it great? It's a celebration of the women that they made it look like it was improvised, but it was no. And don't take away from the time we spent crafting these lines. We argue over every comma and period and everything. So
the story about where the herring jumped out of the cannon.
Yeah.
That's what Dorothy
the herring
said.
circus.
Have they ever? Yeah.
I can't imagine B. Arthur would have taken too kindly to a whole made-up story while they're recording. But it was believable that they were laughing, but it was scripted. So that just shows how great they are, that you think that they're breaking character when they're still in character. And for anyone that questions who you are, they can ask me. I even have something I took at the end of Goldencon. They were going through stuff. I was just like, hey, can I have this? Can I have that? And there's something with your name on it. I think you... What is it?
Something he stole.
I asked. I would have taken it anyway. They were handing them out, I think, to people to get your autograph. And it has like your name and picture. So it's not signed because I didn't even know about any of this. But I have it and it has your picture. So you're up here on the special row with Rue McClanahan's bookshelf.
Where? Show me you have my picture?
Is your picture on it? Am I a liar or is it just your name?
My name.
Oh, it's just your name. Why is your picture not on it?
I don't know.
But I have it in plastic, so next time I'll have
with my line, right?
Yes, it says, this is strictly off the record, but Dirk's nearly 5 years younger than I am. In what, Blanche? Dog years?
Dog years.
But I do appreciate you taking the time with us.
Oh, I just adored you from the minute I met you all, and I just love what you're doing, and thank you so much. It was so cool meeting you in person, and I look forward to many more cons together.
Nice. Well, thank you for
Have
joining.
A great night. I will see you.
We always say,
get better.
Thank you for being a friend.
Thank you for being a friend.
Bye.
Bye.
For more information on our podcast, head over to www.sogoodwenamedit.com and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at SoGoodWeNamedIt. And check out our Facebook page, So Good We Named It, Golden Girls Golden Palace Podcast, and our Facebook group with the same name. And to find out about the next Goldencon, go to thankyouforbeingafan.com and join the mailing list. And as always, thank you for listening and thank you for being a friend. Not just cons, you're going to be hiring us to be in something, so
yeah, invite us to LA.
We're putting that in the universe.
Well, start writing. Up.
Well, if I write something, maybe you'll have time to give your thoughts, and I'll send it over to you.
There you go.
And I would appreciate that. And if you can't get something made, I don't know what hope there is for me, but somebody out there, if you're listening, make the Brady Bunch show, make
Brady
the
Ladies and
Silver Foxes, and also
Rita Rock's reboot,
and the Coco show. And I'll play Coco since unfortunately he's no longer with us. I will play the part, and Kay, I don't know, maybe they need a janitor or something. But anyway,
don't do that.
I mean, I don't know if you do you act?
First of all, I went to school for acting.
Did you? First and foremost, have we talked about this on the show? And
yes, we did.
I always forget that I knew that. Wow.
I've been in theater my whole life. First of all,
you were in a few of my videos, so.
I was in several plays.
Okay.
Several Broadway shows.
I stand Broadway. Really? Wow.
Well,
I stand corrected.
Broadway. I made that up, but still.
But maybe you'll let me direct you in a play one day.
Absolutely.
I want to come do theater in Chicago. It's a great theater.
Move to Chicago, hire us. We'll quit our jobs. No, we'll go on leave, medical leave.
There you go.
Medical, right, exactly.
Okay, well, you heard it here first, folks. And if Stan Zimmerman listens to this show, then what the hell are you doing with your life if you're not? Thank you again. And everybody go follow him. Start some petitions. Do some crowdfunding on his behalf. Get these shows made. Hello and welcome to So Good We Named It, the first,
and to my knowledge, the only Golden Girls or Golden Palace podcast with black hosts. Barry.
Thank you. I'm gonna keep it in. Shit, we keeping it real. Whatever. You know what the hell you listening to. This is like the 20th episode. If you don't know by now, you will never know. Okay.
As you know, that's Barrett.
Period.
And I'm Kay.
And we have an extra special guest with us. Would you like to introduce yourself and plug it, whatever it is that you may have? Didn't mean to throw you off.
Well, I hail from St. Ona. What the fuck?
I am not intoxicated. Let me just let our viewers know, because y'all know I stay zooted. But at this current moment, I am not. I don't know about the other two. Not. I can't speak for them.
I'm not either, really.
I'm on my way to be. I hail from St. Olaf, Minnesota. Actually, no, I'm lying. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. My name is Dominique. You said plug in what did you say?
Whatever you got.
Social media, whatever you got.
You sell something?
You can. My Twitter is _KingDomCum. What else? Shit. That was back when Twitter names were like play on
cool.
words.
Yeah,
and I've just never changed it. I stream on Twitch. I mainly play like Pokemon with a hint of maybe like Mario Kart and Animal Crossing and shit. Okay. My Twitch is SalazzleDazzle21. That's SalazzleDazzle21.
I'm just gonna put some links because that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. You know, black folk, they stopped listening after like the first word or two.
Oh.
Yeah, we got Dominique.
I feel like I should be turning up. Y'all have your wine. I have the drink cart behind me. Let me.
Cool out, Barry. We're here. What are we discussing today?
I don't have a bottle opener handy. Damn.
You don't need one. Let's get into
it. So, we are going to be doing mixed blessings. But I do want to say first, before we get into that, ours is a mixed blessing. I'm a little pressed that you're not coming to Goldencon, but I saw that you were at some other little convention and you were dressed as a Sailor Moon character. So you got time for that, but you ain't got time for the girls. Okay.
Because what happened was the shit sold out like immediately, and they were like, "Oh, it's only a certain amount of time to get tickets," and I'm like, "That's not
what for Goldencon."
Yeah, I looked on the website. And I'm like, oh, I can't.
I know some people, so if you really trying to go like that.
Listen, I am bereaved on a budget.
I mean,
no, like seriously, because my grandmother, she passed in January, so I'm still trying to
R.I.P.
get used to all the new responsibilities that I've came across, and I use that to everybody. I'd be like, I'm bereaved on a budget, and then everybody just stop and be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, oh, y'all not Golden Girls fans, so I can't talk to y'all.
Well, if you are able to, make it in your budget, let me know. I can be like, hey, I need another ticket. You're going to have to make some room. So, just throwing it out there. And that's just for you, not everybody listening. Don't just assume that I got y'all.
Don't bombard us. Yeah. We only have a certain amount of connects, okay?
But I feel like we never say the episode, like the title and the number and the season. We may not today either. Let me see. It's season 3.
Because I'm just like, I don't know.
Season 3 episode, because I literally was just watching it. Season 3, it's towards the end of the season.
23.
I was going to say 22.
Original air date, March 19th, 1988. I wasn't even born when this was made. Wow.
Neither was I.
My mother didn't even meet my father at that early.
Damn. Well,
I'm only 26, so.
I'm so young. This episode
Petunia.
is where Dorothy's son Michael visits, and he brings along his wrinkly old black woman,
She is not wrinkly.
Lorraine.
Been around the block more times than the good humor man.
And they are to be engaged. So of course I always have my little notes here. Let me pull those up. First of all, Dorothy was dragging the fuck out of them about those swimsuits and about about there being too much sand in the hourglass. I'm always here for Dorothy dragging them because they stay on her fucking neck.
But I think also a part of it, like, with Dorothy, with some of the things she would say, and especially like maybe a line like that, I do think at times it could have been her own insecurities talking, considering the fact like she's with Stan for 38 years and then like the only man she really knows just like ups and leaves her with, you know, no warning or anything. So I think a little bit of that may have damaged her self-esteem in a way, whereas she'll crack a joke and, you know, it'll be funny, but maybe deep down she's insecure about herself due to a man she's been with for so long, especially meeting him so young, like in a high school setting, I think. Well, the timeline never makes sense in the show, but I'm just going to assume that it was always in high school, and being so young when she's still trying to discover herself, she gets roped into something like that so young.
Well, you made that pretty deep.
I just really literally...
Come on, Ayanna Van Zandt.
I do think that when they drag her, they mean that shit. But when she says it, she's just like, let me get y'all asses for old and new. That's what my mama used to say when she would want to beat me. She'd say, I'm going to get you for old and new. It wouldn't be with the melon baller, though. But they do often call Blanche fat, which is weird that it's always Blanche when she's... Not that any of them are necessarily fat, but she certainly wouldn't be the fat one. But that's something
I don't think any of them are fat.
No, I don't think so either. I guess
if I had to pick a fat one, it would, quote unquote, the fluffiest one is Rose, but she's not fat either.
She's really she's the bustiest out of them, it seems like. But
because low key, they all have small waists. It's just how they dress them. They make them look bigger than what they are, but they're really not. Like if they would have worn fitted clothes, they would have been like shapely.
I do feel like Rose had a little bit more of a little stomach on her than the others, but nothing crazy. Not
really. Yeah, not really.
I don't know why I remember this, but I always randomly think about I was on the Golden Girls forum. I was like 15. I don't know what the topic was, but somebody was dragging the fuck out of Rose. Like, she got a big ass stomach. And that shit was just so funny to me at 15. I don't know why. But she really doesn't. I think it's just the way that she has her waist cinched. Like, she always has that belt right there. But none of them are fat. And it's just weird that they're always like, oh, Blanche is fat. Blanche has a big butt, you know, music lover.
I ain't never seen it. Now, what they call a big butt? Because I ain't never seen it.
I'm not seeing her cake down
Listen, they
like
can
that.
show how the West is one on mine.
Okay, I ain't seen no big old booty.
But it's, you know, we've talked about before how part of why B. Arthur left was because they were always dragging her. But, you know, they dragged Blanche. It wasn't as consistent, but, you know, they dragged Rue for being fat because, you know, Rose, that's the character. But the, you know, so-called being fat, that's the actress. Just like them saying Dorothy's ugly is the actress. So I think this was to, like, balance it. Like, well, we always come for you. So let's
and
just
then also,
it.
like, considering the type of acting, like the background that B came from, it may have just been after a while, like, all right, like, I'm over this shit, like, it's not funny anymore. But, like, looking back, like, reading how the show came to be, you know, B. Arthur had her moments. I'm not going to say people said she was difficult to work with, but she was very strongly opinionated. So, like, Broadway-style acting, it has comedy in it, but Broadway-style acting is usually, like, a straight, flat, cut-out story where it's like, okay, this is the problem, we're going to solve it, and by the end of it, it's going to be all good. So I think it was a mix of other things, and then maybe she really was just tired. Like the show, she didn't want the show to spoil out, which I heard that, you know, she actually said that as her reason for leaving. It's never been actually said by her. I per se haven't seen anything or heard anything where she's saying that, like, the Dorothy jokes were the reason why the show ended.
Yeah, I've seen it. I know it's in one of the books that I have. Maybe when I meet her personal assistant, Goldencon, I'll ask him. But her
Her assistant's gonna
official,
be there.
yes, and we will be having drinks on the lanai.
God damn it! I should call out of work before.
You really should. Fuck that job.
Right.
You're already working your fingers to the bone 12 hours a week at the museum. But yeah, her official answer is that she wanted to leave while it was on top. And she did the same thing with Maude. She was like, well, this is enough. And a lot of actors do that, like Seinfeld. Maybe I'm just thirsty for features, but I probably would keep doing this shit. I mean, hell, I've been on my YouTube channel 15 years. Anybody watching that shit? But,
but like, I really want to know, like, there was a room. Well, I'm not going to say it was a rumor, but it was, a lot of people have said this, that at one specific table reading of the show, the jokes for that script, like, had her in tears. So I was always wondering, like, what if whatever episode it was that had her in tears at the table reading, if they had to do any type of last minute cuts or adjustments to
in tears, like she was offended in tears?
Yeah.
I'm
surprised you didn't hear. Yeah, they said it was a table reading where she was in tears because she thought the jokes were just too much.
You just coming with all the knowledge there. I gotta go look some of that up.
Is that in the Bible that what's his name, bro?
No, it wouldn't be in Matt Browning's The Golden Girls Definitive Cultural Reference Guide, available now on Amazon.
Which I have right here.
Oh.
I have it right here. Wait.
And I think I have that. I might have that tumbler that's on the floor as I scan your room.
I have it right here.
I think that's only like references in
show
actual episodes.
Yeah, like cultural definitive things. If anything, it might be in the Jim Colucci book.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That book is at work in my locker.
But
Barry, do you have the Jim Colucci book?
I do, but I am on the couch in a different room.
I can pull it up. I can look it up and see if it's on my phone.
But I would like to see that because I've heard something where she was crying from laughing at a script, but never that. So.
Because now I want to know that they edited out the joke or did they keep it in there?
Yeah, that's.
I would think that if she's crying, they're not going to be like, too fucking bad. We're doing it. Especially B. Arthur, because she looked like she would whoop somebody's ass if necessary.
Okay. Well, she wasn't a lesbian, was she?
None of them were lesbians.
In real life.
Consultants.
No, none of
them. In real life.
No. Did you think she was?
No, I thought she'd be a nice one if she was one.
A nice one. What are you sipping on? Because I would like some of that. But no, she was not a lesbian. You seem disappointed. She doesn't believe in labels.
No, okay.
But I also wanted to say, as we've not even talked about the episode, we've been sidebarring, that they really kill me with the way people just drop by from out of town. Like, not even in town. Like, you came from who knows where, and he just knocked on the door. I mean, I get it. There were no cell phones, and he wanted to surprise her. But what was he going to do if nobody was there? Just keep coming back every couple hours or something? And he didn't see Sophia on the way out? She couldn't have gotten on that bus that quickly, or however she was getting to Epcot. But I just always hate that. And it happens all the time. Oh, I just wanted to pop in, or oh, I sent a letter or a telegram. Like, you can't just call.
No. They want to send
like
a telegram. Some carrier pigeons with a telegram in their feet.
In their feet. Like the little scroll rolled up.
Yeah.
And then he's getting married after 4 months. I mean, I'm not one to talk. You know, I had a fast marriage. But damn, it wasn't 4 months.
It wasn't 4 months. I got married in 3 months, and I'm currently getting divorced.
Yeah,
so we were married for 10 years, so there's that.
Well, as we learned later, spoiler, Michael and Lorraine get divorced, so maybe 3-4 months is not the best time frame to go get married. But
she's black. He's white. She's black. He is 23. She is 44.
That is true, and I love how.
Yeah, she was wild for that. I wonder what she was doing. She's probably the same stuff Jada was doing. I digress.
Oh, is this
my
an
mom would
entanglement?
have tore my black ass up.
I mean, I take issue with him being 23. I mean, I know there's no consistency, but at this point, it's season 3. So she would have been married to Stan 41 years. Were they still together? And Michael's 23. So was it maybe that Kate was the firstborn and they just had a 20-something year gap? Like, I don't understand how the writers or
that doesn't make sense.
The actresses weren't just like, hey, this doesn't make sense. But I thought she got
pregnant when she was 17.
She did. So unless Kate's just super old, but she's, referenced how the kids were the same age.
And then when Michael comes back, he was what, 29?
I think so. Neither
So
one
it's
would
like-
make sense though. But 23, like how can she have a 23-year-old son? That just makes zero sense. Even if it wasn't for the 38 years thing, it's not likely.
Unless
that her
the
son would be
timeline of
23.
that episode, maybe, like, if I sometimes like to think that the episodes have never been in chronological order. And I read somewhere that a lot of the episodes actually weren't. Like, they recorded them they recorded a bunch this time. Some episodes were aired before others or something like that.
I know season 1 that happened a lot. They were out of order, which you can see, like the way the set looks different and the actresses look different. You can tell that for sure. Like the one where Rose goes job hunting, that was like supposed to be episode 2, I think, and it was like 15 when it aired.
That would make more sense about the timeline if they weren't in chronological order. And if we treat each episode, with the exception of the part 2s, as individual instances and not like timelines, I guess
like
that would make
the
sense.
Golden Verse, where it's just multiple timelines at once.
Yeah,
I'll accept that. Another theory was that Dorothy actually had a third child we never hear about, and that was the child that was born from the 38 year, the beginning, which, that could be a possibility as well. But we all know that consistency is not their strong suit. Michael, also, I didn't like that when he's talking about her and he says she's black, or a little black. She's like, oh, what do you mean, a little black? A little, black. Yeah, kind of black. What's kind of black? And then when he's like, she's black, and she says, oh, God. Like, why is that the response? What's the big deal?
Right. Why is that a problem?
I think what I personally think it was, I don't think the episode was written with any racist or ill intentions. What I've learned from watching the Golden Girls repeatedly all these years is they often shed light on real issues that were going on. And especially in a time like that where dating outside your race was very taboo. I'm not going to say Dorothy was being racist. I'm not going to say, what's her mother's name?
Sophia?
Greta, yeah. Oh. I'm not going to say either of them were being racist, per se. I just think what it just was unknown and taboo to date outside your race, because that was the 80s, they're fresh off of segregation being like quote unquote over with, and like a lot of things in that time period. So I think it was really just a taboo thing with no explanation why it should or shouldn't have been done. So
I think she was being racist, because if she was Asian or something, if she was Asian, I don't think Michael would have made an announcement like, oh, by the way, she's Asian. But because she's black, he has to announce that she's black. And I'm like, oh my God, what do you mean?
I mean, I wouldn't expect that from Dorothy. I would have expected that from Blanche, maybe. But for Dorothy to be like, oh God, like I could see if maybe she were to say, oh, I don't mind, but I'm just worried about the backlash you all may get, blah, blah, blah. But she wasn't saying that. She personally was upset at first. I'm like, damn.
What if she was any other nationality, Asian or Mexican or Middle Eastern or anything? Like, I don't think they would have made that announcement. But because she's black, she's black. Either.
And I feel like, I get it that it might have been a little more taboo, but damn, the Jeffersons had just gone off the air, where the Willis is not enough for them. But
oh my God.
I just think that that's not very Dorothy-like, because she's usually the free modern thinker that keeps up with the times, as Blanche would say.
Yeah.
So I was a little disappointed in her for that. But she turned it around quickly, and she was like, well, as long as you're happy, that's all that matters, which was clearly a lie. But it was pretty apparent that there were no black writers. I don't think there were ever any black writers on the show, but just like the way they write black people on this show, it's typically not very realistic. Yeah. I will say Lorraine, though, was one of the few characters that was not in the whole show that was not a stereotype and actually had a personality, actually seemed like somebody that you would know, like the tax guy we talked about before. He wasn't a stereotype, but he didn't really have a personality either, as where Lorraine seemed like that could be somebody's auntie or something.
Yeah.
So I'll give them that. They get a gold star for that one thing. But
golden star.
What do the silver stars mean?
I ran out of gold stars. I also feel like Dorothy overreacted once she found out about the age thing. Like, I get it that you wouldn't like it, but she just was so over the top. Like, oh my God, oh, I forbid it. First of all, he's grown. Second of all, is it that fucking big of a deal? Like, it's a little weird, yes. But when Big Mommy was there, she wasn't saying all of that.
I think what that could have also been, maybe Dorothy saw the mistakes that she possibly may have made with her marriage to Stan, and how, you know, she got pregnant so young and everything like that. So maybe that might have been a vicarious moment for her, where she, or not vicarious per se, but she may not have wanted Michael to possibly make the same mistakes that she made at such a young age.
23. It ain't like he got her pregnant.
Well, I mean, he did, but she didn't know that
I
yet.
mean, but right, but still.
She probably just saw a lot of flaws from her and Stan so young. She probably did not want Michael to, you know, go through the same thing. You know, she probably saw a lot of herself in Michael and may not have wanted Michael to end up like she did and like Lorraine leave him or something like that.
So would she have rather wanted Michael to have a younger spouse or just have multiple women?
That's a good question.
I mean, he was there before sleeping with Bridget. I mean, every time he comes, it's some weird shit he's got going on with his love life or whatever. Maybe he should have married her. That would have been fun. But hell, Kate is married to a damn cheater. So is that any better? I mean, he's a doctor, a podiatrist, but still a doctor.
I mean, you know, what do we classify cheating as?
Dennis had an affair, so he cheated.
Yeah.
But was everything else okay?
I assume, since, you know, that was the first thing. But the fact that she had to fly to Miami just to tell her mother that he cheated, I feel like it must have been a whole affair and not just a one-time thing. I don't recall the specifics if there were any. But I feel like, you know, all their kids suck anyway. So what the hell was she expecting? I also... Another scene when Rose is looking in the mirror and she's like, oh, I look horrible. I laughed out loud, even though I knew it was coming. When she's like, oh, Dorothy, it's you. That was rude as fuck. Rude as fuck. I guess she was like, let me get you back for that shit you said about me in a bathing suit.
Maybe that was the episode where she was crying at the reading table.
Maybe so, because that was pretty harsh. I'm gonna ask her assistant about that if we can't get a definitive answer. But and going back to that, how are they about to go on this cruise that week? Like, is that how that works?
That's what I was thinking.
Like, hey, I want to go on this cruise. Sure, come on. Like, do they have passports ready to go? They're already taking off work. Like, that seems very.
But that was also back in a time where, going to certain places outside of the U.S., you didn't need a passport.
Maybe not. But damn, at least, you know, is that enough time to take off work?
Is that enough time to pay for it? Because cruises are not
I assume
cheap.
the guys were paying for it.
Yeah, since they invited them to cruise next week with them in the Bahamas.
And that wasn't the first time that they went on a cruise as like a date. I mean, maybe because I'm not an old white lady in the 80s in Florida, but damn, anybody ever took me on no fucking cruise for a date? Shit. I'm doing it to get the water taxi.
And fill condoms with water and throw them at people dancing in the limbo line.
I mean, all of these sound like very exciting things to do. Oh, and by the way, everybody, Dominique is black. Unless that's a problem for you, then she's white.
Then she's white. But I'm tired of that uppity white woman too.
And, you know, just to sidebar for a moment, I forgot to ask you my stock question for all of our black guest co-hosts. Have you felt like you have been in the closet because you like Golden Girls, or that you're judged because you like Golden Girls?
No, absolutely not.
Really? Maybe that's just us.
I say Golden Girl one-liners a lot in regular conversation, like at work. We'll be just talking and just messing around with each other. And I said to somebody the other day, I was like, did I say there was going to be a question and answer period after I spoke? So then my manager, he looked at me and he was like, you're the youngest old person I've ever met. And I'm like, okay.
Well, that's good that you haven't had the same struggles, you know, because I always felt weird that I liked the Golden Girls. I didn't hide it, but I always felt weird about it. Like, why do I like this? But I guess you're breaking the mold, so.
Because it's golden, that's why.
It is. quite golden, and I'm assuming you fell in love with it on Lifetime.
I honestly, as a growing up, I can't even remember what channel I started to see it on, but I heavily started getting into it before I graduated. How was it, middle school or high school? Because this was like being home from school in the summertime, not having to go to school in the morning. So like I'm just watching TV all night and would just stumble across the Golden Girls on Hallmark every night. And I'm just like, oh, hey, I'll watch this, and the rest was history.
Well, I'm glad that you're able, maybe because you're slightly younger, the new generation isn't as harsh, but you're able to love the Golden Girls in peace and not be harassed over it.
I mean, I'll just get the melon baller.
Well, that's always my go-to. I also wanted to mention where Dorothy kept saying how she doesn't approve and blah blah blah. Who's asking you? As Sophia would say, like, why the hell do you need to approve? You're not paying for it. Like, they're just letting you know. And even Lorraine, for her to be like, oh, do I have your blessing? You're like the same age. What do you need your blessing for? I didn't ask.
Girl.
I mean,
I think she was just being respectful of, his mother, being respectful of that. But at the end of the day, like, I can understand, like, Dorothy's frustration, to touch back on just seeing a lot of herself in Michael. She just possibly may not have wanted him to go down the same road and make the same mistakes. But sometimes, like Sophia often tells Dorothy, you sometimes just gotta let pretty much, not verbatim what she said, but pretty much just let people do what because they're going to do what they're going to want to do anyway, and just let them learn from that, because you can't stop them from doing anything.
Right. Dorothy needs therapy because she got a lot going on.
She was very scarred.
Therapy. Therapy is very important.
She's got a lot of trauma she needs to unpack.
I think everybody should go to therapy, whether you're going through something or not. If you think, if life is just being great, that's good too, but I still think everybody should go to therapy.
A very special episode of So Good We Named It.
Yeah, it's my PSA.
But, I mean, I agree with that, though. But for Dorothy, to just be all about the approval and everything, and she said it in a way to like, I cannot agree to this, as if that made a difference. I mean, he
still was going to do what the fuck he wanted to do.
Like, anyway. I didn't ask my mother-in-law or anybody. I just did it, and I was like, hey, this is what's happening, and that's that. Maybe I'm just disrespectful. But even when, even when they find out that they eloped, and they're like, oh, we gotta go do something about this. Like, what are you gonna do?
What can you do?
What the fuck are y'all gonna do?
This guy, he's a grown-ass man.
And when Greta and her sisters come, it always was weird to me that they were even there. Like, they had no purpose. What was the point of them? I thought when I first saw it that it was gonna be like I guess like a black version, because the Greta was giving me Dorothy, so I thought, oh, that she's gonna have a Rose and a Sophia, and they'll play off of that. But no, they were just there, like they literally didn't even say anything the whole time until they came back. They were just standing there.
Yeah,
and one of them was named Trudy. Like, damn, they couldn't think of another name. We already have two Trudys, a Truby. They needed like a baby name book or something when making up characters.
Like Gertrude, I don't know.
Something. And the grandmother from Famous Jet Jackson was one of the sisters.
Oh my God.
R.I.P.
Because he is so fine. Like, I just knew I was going to marry Mia Lee Thompson, young. Anyway.
Poor little out for him. And then Greta, you might also know as Uncle Phil's mom from Fresh Prince. But I feel like that whole scene, it was kind of awkward how they were all just standing there for so long. Like, nobody's going to sit down. They just busted on in the door. They didn't even wait. She was like, oh, hi, I'm Greta.
Hello.
And Dorothy was dusting the pillows when they came in.
Right.
How the fuck do you dust the pillow?
Like, what the hell is she doing? But I guess they had to
not
set
even
up
bluffing them.
The joke about her possibly being the maid, which I thought was funny. At least they have money, even though she was ready to beat Sophia to fuck up. Hold my purse, sisters.
Fighting words.
I was like, that's a little extreme. Like, damn, why the black person have to be ready to beat somebody's ass? I would have liked to see
I see
it,
what they did there, though, with that, honestly. Because it's like, okay, the black folk, we've been ridiculed for years, and still, of course. So, like, I can see, like, the reverse that they did with that. Like, you know, saying like, since we've always been looked at as slaves, maids, butlers, this, that, and the third, I see like the reverse psychology they did with it, and I laughed at it because it's like, okay, it's not often you see a joke like that coming from like a black person.
True.
You know, so like I see where they went with that because I was not expecting Greta to say that, honestly.
And she meant it too. She wasn't even trying to be funny, which made it funnier. And I feel like shows that don't have a lot of black characters, when they do have them, I feel like they try to overcompensate with their success. Like the fact that she mentioned that, you know, they had money and blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, we don't usually have black people, but when we do, we go all out. So here's a rich one. Like how Marguerite was a lawyer. And it's like they just want to make us feel special, I guess, whenever they're mentioned. What else did I have to mention? Oh, I have these in order of where it appeared in the episode, so I'm backtracking
chronological
a little.
order, okay.
Yes, how Blanche said that she interfered with Becky and her marriage, and I think Enough Wicker mentioned this when they cover this episode. It's rare that they have any like callbacks or continuity, because usually everything is standalone unless it's about Stan alone.
Yeah.
But thanks, I'll be here all week. Try the veal. But she actually references an older episode, and I wish there had been more of that throughout the series. But that definitely was a good point. And for once, Blanche had some good advice, and she really wasn't making it about her, which normally everything is either about her or she just doesn't care. But she was actually trying to help out, and Dorothy just refused to listen. And I am curious what was in Blanche's miracle beauty treatment, since her face had nothing on it other than the towel. I don't know what she did to her. But when they came in with the mud, we're not going to get too much into this because this will be a separate thing that we'll discuss. This is, you know, we'll talk about it offline. But in regards to the black...
How they did that, though, like...
The blackface.
It wasn't blackface. Like,
it wasn't.
It wasn't. That was such a fucking stretch. And you know that episode... It actually got taken down off Hulu for a couple of months, and they just recently put it back.
Yeah, that whole thing, that was definitely unnecessary. I will, hold most of my remarks for later, but I definitely think that was a non-factor. I mean, I don't speak for all black people, but they were doing nothing.
I wasn't offended. I don't think
I was never offended. Like, right. I feel like the Golden Girls, honestly, if the Golden Girls would not last in a society like today.
Probably not.
It wouldn't.
And there were far worse things than that. You know, like Sophia dressed as a mammy. And I tweeted today because AAVE, and for those of you that don't know, that's African American Vernacular English, aka Ebonics. And that was trending because there's so many non-black people that use AAVE and they don't know what they're saying or they're using it wrong. And then essentially many people feel it's just not for them. And I posted a picture when Sophia was like, "We was po," and that would be another example of that. We sure was, or we sure do. But there was a lot of times like that were not appropriate. I still laughed, still thought it was funny, but I'm like, there's way worse things than that. But, you know, whatever. We'll get to that later, and you all will see what we're referring to. But I also wanted to mention that I feel like they always bring up the black men in bed thing when possible, like with Alvin. They brought it up then. Like, is that the only thing y'all have to talk about? As Miss Juicy would say, can you come up with something else? Can you come up with something else? Because I feel like that's so just weird.
It is true, though.
I mean, you know. Call it what you want. I'm just thankful it's true. Her one line for the whole episode. But I feel like maybe that was something that was brought up more back then. But I'm like, you never even hear anybody say that now, really. And Sophia's like, we just got to get this out the way, as if she never interacts with black people. So here's my one shot. Since there's a black person, let me ask them. Like, they all kind of acted like they have never seen a black person. Like Rose asking what color our dandruff is. Like, the fuck? That definitely deserved a hit. But at the same time, I mean, that does happen. Like, I remember in high school, this white girl was asking what color black people's poop was. And she was for real. I guess she thought it was white since theirs is brown. I don't know. It always amazes me, the things that people ask. Shout out to Alyssa.
We never said she was smart.
But it's just weird that they always go to those types of things, and then when Blanche was like, "Oh yes, definitely," and it was like a shock, like, "Oh my god," she's like, "Oh, I mean, I want to know too." Like, damn, if you fucking black guys, that's your business. What's the big deal? A minute ago, you wanted a pencil so you can jot down the names of the rich young black men. But I guess since Benjamin wasn't black, he was a Yankee. That was the only time. But I find it hard to believe of all the people Blanche fucks that none of them were black. And I feel like if the Golden Girls had lasted longer, or Golden Palace, that eventually maybe she would have gotten a black boyfriend. And it's kind of crazy that nobody ever dated anybody black all that time.
I don't know if she would have got a black boyfriend. I don't think that's crazy.
Maybe not a boyfriend, but she would have slept with one.
She would have gave him the Jake.
She might have. Who knows if she didn't?
Well, I feel like we should have seen it. Like, there's a lot of older black men actors that they could have had be on there for a special episode or something.
Yeah, but I don't think that was their thing.
She could have dated Roland's dad after they got the divorce. Spoiler alert. And we'll get back to Golden Palace for any listeners. I know we haven't, discussed that in a minute, but y'all be hating. A lot of people are like, "Oh, we don't like Golden Palace." Not that it's about you, but
Golden Palace was actually really funny. I liked it.
Well, we'll have you on when we do a Golden Palace episode. But
I particularly would like. No, I'm not gonna say which episode, but because I really don't know. But I really liked the episode when Blanche's son came for the comedy thing, and Blanche was like something about hearing a male voice. So then Sophie was like, every once in a while, I want to hear that male voice in my life too. So then Roland's like, "You want me to call Dorothy? Would you, darling?"
They stayed dragging her even when she wasn't on the show anymore.
Right.
And then I also wanted to mention it was just weird the way, first of all, I know that you're not going to have your back to the camera, the fourth wall, but damn, there's other chairs. Why is everybody standing up the entire time while you're eating cheesecake? It just seems so unnatural. And then the way Greta was going on, "Oh, this cheesecake is so delicious. Oh, not bad for store-bought." Like, that whole interaction was just so awkward. Like, you can't think of anything else to say. You don't have any more stereotypes to work in. So you just do that. And I wish we had gotten to see her mother, since she was like, "Oh, I have one at home." I would have liked to see more of them, really, because I felt like the dynamic between her and Dorothy was funny. And for her to live in Florida, they share a grandchild, and she's never to be seen or heard from again. Instead of bringing in random-ass people like Mary, who was pregnant, and we're supposed to care about her. Bring back Greta, damn it.
I still don't know her backstory. Like, she just popped up, like...
I hate her, but I'll get into
that
later.
Damn, okay.
She's up there with Kirsten. Mother, I'm so ashamed of you.
God. I didn't like either
Mother, I'm
Kirsten.
so ashamed of you.
But,
I didn't like the first Kirsten, didn't like the last.
I hate them all. But I think that instead of, doing Golden Palace, had they brought in another roommate, they could have brought Greta. I would have been here for that. I would like to see it, as Monique would say. But the way they dramatically rush out to the chapel, Dorothy has on her nightgown. Well, she does that a lot. She went to the hospital
Run
with
out
a
of her
nightgown.
right?
Like,
with that
girl.
long ass trench coat.
Right? She only puts that trench coat on when they're going somewhere, like in the middle of the night. Like when she goes and she's like, either I'm going to commit a felony or get ice cream. Like, that's her.
On the side in the car.
That's her trauma coat, I guess, looking like Inspector Gadget.
Carmen Sandiego.
Looking ass. But
Children
that was
come over for a visit.
just so dramatic.
Dinner, they spill it on the furniture. I can't do it. I can't even say it. It's on the TV right now. I can't even keep up.
I just hate it. And I thought we were going to get to see the wedding. Like, they actually went into the chapel. They sat down. Like, they did all of that just for her to have her little, I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving already, with the random janitor that we didn't need.
What the fuck is that?
Then it all came down to, what'd she say? Do you want to see it? Yes, as in the grandchild. Like, oh, that saves everything, I guess. And when Dorothy later comes back in the Christmas episode with Robbie, is Robbie Lamar / Roger? Is that someone else? I don't know. We never get to see Dorothy as a grandmother, interacting with her grandkids. Missed opportunity. We could have seen Sophia as a great grandmother, but to hell with that, I guess. But I don't know how I feel about her saying about Roger. Do you want him to be a choreographer? First of all, Is
What's
Roger
wrong with that?
a gay name? And if he
Right.
was
Roger,
gay,
that doesn't even sound like the name of a choreographer any fucking way.
I feel like Lamar is more of a choreographer.
Exactly.
But
precisely.
if he was a choreographer or
What's
gay,
wrong
is
with
that a
that?
problem, Greta?
Right, were they trying to use words to represent other words?
Yeah, we know what she meant to say, but damn, you just had this whole thing about not having, racist ideologies, but now we'll just go over to homophobia, and that's fine. No one's gonna address that. But they were real chummy at the end, had their arms around each other as they sauntered on in. I was trying to see if Dorothy had shoes on, because B. Arthur hated shoes, and when she had her trench coat at the hospital, if you pause it, you can see she didn't have on shoes at the hospital.
I wonder if she ever actually hurt herself on set, though.
Well, she had in her contract that she wouldn't sue
she
them
couldn't
if she
sue,
did.
but I wonder if she ever,
I would think so.
her
Like,
foot.
damn, you can fuck your feet up just walking around barefoot all the time, especially in
her
a
flat
studio.
ass feet.
Damn, dragging B. Arthur tonight. Why?
That's
See,
why-
people
that's why
like
she
you.
quit the show.
Oh, yeah, exactly. This that bullshit she be talking about. That's exactly why.
Ooh, I told you I had 3 glasses of wine. Like, come on now. Come on.
But I just hate that we never got to see any of them again. I mean, clearly they were close the way they just, stormed into their house a second time in the middle of the night. They drove all the way over there. Come on, sisters. I feel like they really worked that in a few times. Like, I don't know if I know of any black women that repeatedly say sisters to their sisters like that. I don't know.
We'd be like, girl, let's go.
Right.
Okay.
Like, come on, sisters. And
Like,
then
get the fuck up.
they had the lace gloves. I'm like, where are they coming from? Who are these people? Do they all live together?
I barely wear gloves in the wintertime. The fuck I'm about to put on gloves for fun.
And I don't know anybody that wears lace gloves ever. But I guess they wanted to show they were women of esteem. I remember looking them up before because I, of course, knew the other actresses. But the other sister, I didn't really know her. I saw her IMDb, but I didn't really know her from anything. And I felt like they could have had somebody a little more well-known, perhaps. Maybe all of them could have been a little more well-known, like how Ruby Dee was Mammy. But maybe they didn't have anybody. And again, with the references, like I know that's part of the show, but it was like, oh, let's name all the black people we can. Like, oh, as soon as Diana Ross gets one, everybody wants one. And then when she's like, can Ella shatter glass? Who talks like that?
Right.
Who would say that? That was some weird shit. Again, white people writing for black people.
But that's how they used to talk, though. Like in the 50s and 60s, that's how they used to talk.
Would that be your response, though, to a simple question of, do you like cheesecake?
Probably not.
That seems
or
a little
somebody could be like, does a chicken have lips?
Unless they just wanted to incorporate, more black colloquial people.
Come on, colloquial. But I just feel like we need to have a black person in the room, at least when there's a black person on the show. Because, like with Marguerite, a lot of stuff she said, I'm like, nobody talks like that. But overall, decent, funny episode. I was laughing out loud, even though I've seen it a million times. And it's just nice to see that many black people, even though it was Martha and the Vandellas, yet another reference. I didn't know who they were until I heard that. I didn't have the book, though. Yeah, that guy, too. What's his name? Because Selfish Lover.
I actually follow a page called Golden Alumni or Golden Girls Alumni, and I think he passed away.
Yeah, I follow them too on Instagram. Selfish Lover did an episode with us. It hasn't come out yet, but she was dragging me because I didn't know who he was. I'm not old enough to know who he was, but I definitely think that, again, they just wanted to throw in anything like with the Martha and the Vandellas thing. But I didn't have Matt Browning's book. It hadn't come out yet, so I had to Google them. And they were basically a girl group like the Supremes.
Yeah.
Which I feel like
Martha
that
and the
would
Vandellas.
have been a better reference. And then the Raisin in the Sun, again, just throwing in all the black stuff.
All right, all the black references.
And then Rose doing the dance from the Cosby Show, which I would love to see. Actually. And then I don't like how Dorothy did something that white people tend to do when they're referring to black people, especially like dancing or being hip or cool. And she was like, that dance that you do. And she did that little movement. I was like, ugh. But I would still like to see it. I feel like that's not the only time they mention that, unless I'm just thinking of this episode, because I know that there's I don't know, maybe that's the same one, because I feel like she said something about Rose being at the end of the driveway doing it in another episode. I don't know.
I feel like she did too, but I can't.
I don't know
pinpoint it.
when or why that would be. Maybe is Matt Browning's book still there? Can you look up the Cosby Show for us?
True.
The official reference guide of So Good We Named
There's
It.
no. I don't think this book has an index.
It does.
So.
That's how I'm able to find everything.
All right. So season now the Cosby Show. When she made the first reference, what season was that in?
That I don't know. I think if you just look Cosby Show up, I think it should mention every time it
References index
brought up. There's two different
381.
parts. But I would love to see Rose's version of that dance, which is not even a real dance. They're all just doing their own thing. So I don't know what Dorothy's talking about. And also love how when they mention Blanche's son, she's like, oh, well, my son, blah, blah, blah. She's got 4 sons. Which one are you talking about? Which one burnt down the town or whatever? Was it Skippy, Biff, Doug?
Biff.
Don't take Skippy. Use that.
Take me, Biff.
But she's lying, though, because when he came back and he wanted to be a stand-up comic, she didn't like that shit.
Exactly.
But we're just, for our listeners, we're waiting for the reference. That'll be how we close out the show. Hopefully I didn't make it up in my
Farmer
head.
in the Dell. No, there's nothing.
Come on, we're closing the show out with this. It better be there. Don't make me a liar.
Comment. Ask him what's up with it.
Yeah, when I'm at the T's, I don't see anything in the C's or the B. Like, I don't see anything under Bill Cosby. I don't see anything under Cosby Show, nor do I see anything.
Maybe it's just assumed everybody knows what the Cosby Show is, unlike all their other random ass references that we've never heard of.
I think everybody would pretty much know what the Cosby Show is.
Yeah. People, they've seen it.
Maybe I'll make a cultural reference guide for black stuff. It'll be a pamphlet, because there's not a lot of black people on there, and I'll just kill my sister. You killed
your sister over a pamphlet?
And I do want to say Dominique has more references and lines from the show than anybody I've known, including me.
Yes.
Like when we were talking, Instagram and stuff, or on Twitter. Like you got to memorize.
Yeah, that's me on Twitter with the profile picture of the Pokemon. It's that little bird thing. That's me.
I was wondering
if enough Wicker, like them and Golden Girls posters. I wonder if they were able to put 2 and 2 together. It
took me a minute, and then I could never remember the name for the account when I want to go.
Because I'm like, when I tag stuff on Instagram, I tag it on Twitter too, and I'm like, all right, by now they have to know that this is me on Twitter too.
They have to. Surprised you don't have your own podcast. Yeah, it's a lot of work. I wouldn't recommend it. But
2 stars.
By the time I get off work, I just be like, yo, like I came home from work last night and I lit 2 blunts and I don't even know what the fuck, man.
Well, all right, weed is legal here in Chicago.
Well, when we do our 420 episode, maybe you can be on there because we're gonna get zooted.
That's coming up next week
and talk about it.
Yeah, what day is 420? Let me check my
I was supposed to be taking a break. Damn.
It's on a Wednesday. I'm gonna come over your house that day, Barrett, and we can do it together.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. Let's do
Lord
it.
Have mercy.
Yeah.
But thank you for joining us before we get into our weed talk. I always feel like we're not supposed to be talking about it, but it is legal.
It is.
And we ain't got any sponsors.
Purposes.
We can talk about whatever we want. Now, when we start doing commercials, then that might change. But but thank you for joining us, Dominique. It's nice to finally talk to you.
Oh yes.
After all this time. Yes. I guess we have the Disney Channel. I didn't even know what you look like after all this time, and I'm like, I'm just talking to a random page, but I know.
You eventually clicked my page on Instagram and see my pictures.
Because you had a picture of you holding something. I was like, oh, at least I know she's black. Because I saw a black hand. I was like, okay, I know that much.
Jesus.
But you're a hardcore fan. Like you pre-ordered the Diamond Edition Rose and everything. I feel like I have to. I have to at least show you the most recent update to my shrine.
You can even see it.
I usually record in my office, but I needed to lay down today. Damn, you got quite the collection.
Shrine.
Yes. I haven't posted it yet.
This is my Great Wall of Funko.
Oh, wow.
I have actually, I don't know if you can really see it, but my dresser looks a hot-ass mess. Yeah, you actually can't see it. I have 2 of the big... Actually, I have 4 of them, the big 6-inch pops, because they clearly can't fit up there. And then I have another one right here that I bought Saturday at the con. I definitely don't know where the fuck I'm going to put this. I don't know.
The
Oh, shit,
anticipation.
you can't even see it.
Oh, wow. Look at
I definitely don't know where the fuck this is going to go, because this is, like, bigger than all of them. I have 43 pops in my collection.
Take them out the box. You'll have more room then.
No!
You can't take them
I
out
take
the
all
box.
my shit out the box.
No, you cannot.
You're not supposed to. It ruins the value.
I'm not gonna sell it
I
anyway.
never sell mine. Like 2 of my pops are autographed. My Yami Yugi pop and my Seto Kaiba pop, I got them both autographed by their voice actors, and you'll just have to pry that out of my dead hands because I could go broke today anymore. I'm not selling it.
Damn. Well,
Yeah.
I only have my Alex Trebek still in the box because he passed away, so it might be worth a little money. But the
And
rest
he's a
of
Canadian that wasn't on skates.
but here is mine. I haven't posted the most recent update because I know I'm gonna get a
It's
lot of shit
ridiculous.
at Goldencon. But I just reorganized it yesterday, and it's
So
pretty
many things.
sick.
Oh my Jesus!
Yeah.
He has a problem.
And
Who are you
thought
to
I
judge
had a
me?
problem.
But,
Do you have the socks? Oh my God!
I
He
do.
has everything.
I'm wearing the
No,
socks
it's a
right
4
now.
pack of
Actually,
socks. It's a 5-pack actually. Here's one that I just grabbed right out my drawer. The ones.
yeah, that's
like
what I'm
these.
wearing now.
Yeah.
I
He
love
has a
it.
problem.
Yeah, I'm obsessed. But
Very
love
much
it.
so.
anywho,
I
I
love
won't
it.
hold
I
you
love
any
it.
longer. I feel like this is a 2-hour episode, which is fine because y'all listening. So shit, what you want? 2-minute
It's
episodes?
been 1 hour.
Let me stop cussing out our listeners. Every
Okay,
episode,
we appreciate you.
every
You're
episode, I'm
golden.
going in on them. But you know I live for you all. It's how I show my love, like Sophia. But thank you again for joining us. We certainly appreciate it, and I hope
I
to
guess
have
it wasn't
you
as
back.
touching as I thought.
I always say that when I say something that I think is really sweet and nice to my husband, and he just looks at me. I'm like, oh, well, I guess it wasn't
Yeah,
as touching
like,
as I thought it. And then I'll say, hope you're not waiting for a hug. But
And as
anywho.
I always say,
No, as I always say, thank you for being a friend. I'm gonna say it for you. I'll just edit it in anyway. I'm the one editing it, so I will edit myself in saying it. It doesn't matter.
oh,
It's
Jesus,
fine.
thank you for being a friend.
But yes, check out Dominique on all of those links for you gamers. If you're playing Miss Pac-Man or whatever it is the kids play, you can check out the Twitch and all that
Yeah,
other
I'll
good
send
stuff.
I'll DM you the links and stuff so you can like link it in the podcast or whatever.
For sure.
Please do.
Thank you for being a friend.
For more information on our podcast, head over to www.sogoodwenamedit.com and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at SoGoodWeNamedIt. And check out our Facebook page, So Good We Named It, Golden Girls Golden Palace Podcast, and our Facebook group with the same name. And to find out about the next Goldencon, go to thankyouforbeingafan.com and join the mailing list. And as always, thank you for listening and thank you for being a friend. I don't know how many more we're going to record before Goldencon because we already have a lot that we've done. But if this is the last time we do a show before Goldencon, hopefully we see you guys there and hopefully we get to meet. And if we get really famous from this and we stop doing this, too bad because we're going to be rich and we're not going to have time for this. But
We're not going to stop our podcast. We'll probably actually do video with it if we do get like famous. I think that'll be cool so we could do like a video they could see.
I'm
us
just going to
interact.
block everybody because
Yeah.
I'm going to be too famous to talk to them.
Oh, I
But-
won't block you all, and I'll make sure I forward him your messages. So don't
Please
even,
do. Please do.
It's okay.
But yes, if Goldencon has not taken place by the time this airs, make sure you go to thankyouforbeingafan.com and Goldencon will be at Navy Pier April 22nd through the 24th. Super excited and see you guys there. And have a golden day.
God
Yep.
damn it.